Okay, is iwi holding big retailers entering the New Zealand market to ransom? Ikea has taken more than 5 years to set up shop in New Zealand, and it must at every step consult and get Māori leaders to agree to what it's doing. Iwi effectively hold a powerful veto-like hold over the development. Their involvement slows things up, it adds more cost, and it's just forced white guilt tokenism. And at every step, the economic outcomes for New Zealand further diminish. And up in lights, Ikea gets poorly treated. Little wonder we can't get a third supermarket in here. It's do-gooderism at its very worst. Welcome to the program.
Are we paying these people to front up, or are we paying them to fly to Wellington to eat their lunch? Should you really lose your career for refusing to take part in a 90-minute lesson about Māori culture? This government doesn't actually have any idea how to get economic growth. Show us what you made of, Prime Minister.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan, Garner.
Okay, you're the Editor-in-Chief. Evening, everybody. I'm Duncan, Garner. Welcome along. And please subscribe. Helps us stay around. So, want to know how hard we make it to set up a big multinational retailer in New Zealand? Just ask the supermarkets, now ask Ikea. Ikea first announced plans to be here in 2019. They might open their doors by the end of the year, maybe. 6 years, no Ikea here yet. I have the consent requirements, and it's totally weighed down a nonsense consultation and box ticking asking local iwi to agree at every step of the way. Little wonder we're a hard place to do business now. So let's look at this and let's go.
It's the Slam Dunk.
Okay, setting up a big new business in New Zealand, well, we've been told it's not easy. We have red tape, hurdles, council bureaucracy, and mindless iwi consultation every step of the way. What from the outset should be so simple ends up in a bloody confused mess. If I was Ikea, I wouldn't care anymore. I'd be gone. New Zealand, an easy place to set up a business? Hell no. Ikea came very close to opening its first Kiwi store in 2008, but it lost a 4-year battle in the Environment Court when it ruled that its proposed location in Auckland, Mount Wellington, would cause traffic chaos. Ching, ching, ching. The cost of the lawyers mounts, doesn't it? Red tape. Why bother with Tin Pot New Zealand when they're still trying? But Ikea came back, and it's been here since 2019 trying to work out how to get its iconic shopping experience here in New Zealand. But hold up. Not so fast. This is New Zealand. Now, here's the resource consent for its new mega South Auckland store. Have a look at this here. Ikea must invite representatives from the local and neighbouring iwi. So sometimes you get 3, 4 or 5 tribal leaders who will undertake cultural monitoring, Carakia and other cultural ceremonies for any pre-start meetings for when earthworks are about to commence and when they're about to end. Iwi must get plenty of warning, so 10 days. None of the earthworks can go ahead until Māori have replied or confirmed their attendance. If iwi don't reply after 15 days, it's considered that they don't want to get involved, so that's fair. But what a shambles. When did iwi become stormwater experts? Don't we want a stormwater expert to tell us how to do it and work well, rather than what local iwi might think or feel about stormwater? Fencing, planting, you name it, at every step Māori have a say, and their point of view matters. Not that they own the land. It's private land. It's so irrelevant, though. I reckon Māori are probably embarrassed about this too. These are significant private works on privately held pieces of commercially traded land in the public interest. They need a return on this investment. They need New Zealand to go into bat for them and to make the investment work quickly. Then they're free to make some money. That's how it should work. That's capitalism. Why should it be the business of a Māori in, say, Dargaville what happens with a retailer setting up in Helensville? It's vexatious, it's costly, and it slows the process down, and it's rife for ripping people off. Money can and does change hands. Thanks for coming today. Here's a massive koha. The Māori in the South Island were paid around $100 million to not oppose Meridian spilling water from the dams. It means that Meridian can keep its prices high, but it can't spill water without approval. So Meridian paid the iwi off, $100 million, probably 110 I think it was. And so here we go with Ikea. Managers and clipboards everywhere. Delays and dates need to be lined up. Another huge layer of misguided and confusing bureaucracy under the guise of keeping Māori informed that no one's really happy about this at all. After all is said and done, Ikea must present council with what sort of iwi consultation worked and what didn't, and how was any iwi input included in the final designs, and please show us examples of that. God, what bureaucracy. Folks, it's OTT, over the top. We are falling over ourselves trying to involve iwi when they may not actually desire to drive 100 k's to any site. I'm sure Ikea will have to stump up the payments, petrol, kuha, all that to help ease the process. It's happened before, we've seen it. No wonder we can't get supermarkets and big overseas retailers here. The price of entry and the price of business is so high. All these costs eventually passed on to you and me as consumers. Now, ex-David Seymour says, what message do conditions like these send to other businesses looking to invest in New Zealand? Well, we know what it says. It says don't come. We should be rolling out the welcome mat for anyone wanting to bring much-needed competition to New Zealand. Instead, we're forcing them to navigate demands based on metaphysical concepts not required anywhere else in the world, just here. The result is Kiwis see higher prices at the checkout, less jobs and lower incomes. Cabinet's agreed there will be no general treaty principles. No principles in this new resource management system. The new RMA laws. Seymour says we cannot continue to have planners bogged down with everyone's consents by demanding this sort of absurd behaviour. Labor said the treaty clause needs to be included in the new RMA laws. It's a point of contention. Quite frankly, it's got so out of hand now, out of control, it's misused and abused. And given our economic performance, we need to unshackle this economy, unlock it, not tighten it up even further. Last thing we need is to tie it up in unnecessary red tape. Most iwi have settled their claims, right? And they have overarching protections included in all those settlements that can't be diminished or taken away by any future law or any rules or any other agreements. It's locked. It's there for them now. In many ways, the new RMA minus the iwi protections will see progress and growth happen more quickly, and hopefully no one on either side's offended at that. Except, of course, the Greens, Te Pāti Māori and Labour, who are likely to be unhappy, possibly forever.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Joined now by Auckland councilor, former National Party Minister Maurice Williamson, who's spotted this as well. Maurice, at every turn in this development with Ikea, Māori have this almost a veto right of what gets planted, what the fence should look like, what the walkway is going to be called. It's just the earthworks, the planting. She's pretty significant.
Well, let's start off with what I think is a proper way to go. If you're going to impact on any group of people's property or their life or how they live or whatever, whoever they are, be they Chinese, Indian, Māori or whatever, they've got a right to be consulted and they've got a right to have their case put, and if it necessarily has to go to some commissioners to determine whether the damage being done could be mitigated. I'm totally on side. So there is no ruling anybody out from having a right within a resource management application to have a say if they're impacted. The first thing that's wrong is someone that lives in Dunedin can put an impact statement on about a motorway north of Auckland, who have never even been there because of some spotted whatevers. But what I have to say with regards to the Māori thing, I just found it just unacceptable, the extent to which we had things put on us. For example, while I was Minister in the 90s of Transport, we were trying to build the beginning of the Albany to Puhoi motorway. And I saw in the paper a big article that we had to have cultural advisors sit on the side of the lake every day, watching the lake to ward off evil spirits while the project was going. And I said, look, if they want to sit there, they're welcome, make a space for them. No, we're paying them $200 an hour to be culturally aware. And I said, over my dead body. And the chief executive of Transit said, Minister, do you want to delay this project at least another year or more while we're tied up in the courts, or do you just want to put away a couple of $100 an hour and get it done? And you know,
You're paying them off. You're paying them off for progress.
And when we have to have the Carakia on all the new roading projects, and I say, what a Carakia, first of all, and I've got the definition, so I'd love to read this to you straight out of the book.
Please do.
It says,
go for it.
A Carakia refers to prayers, incantations, or ritual chants used to invoke spiritual guidance, protection, or to ensure a favourable outcome for an undertaking. And so they used to do the Carakia over the new road we're building. And I said, what is the purpose of this? And they said, to make sure it will be safe for everyone to use. And I said, well, okay, that's fantastic. That means we won't have any road accidents on this road. No, you'll have the same number as if we did the Carakia or didn't do it. And I said, well, that's okay. And then I didn't mind that they did it. But then the koha we had to pay them came to $5,000 just for them to come and say a prayer over the motorway. And Duncan, it gets really more crazy. If you come out to my patch right now, we're building this massive big thing called an Eastern Busway. And along the Carakia Drive, so there's a good Māori name of the road it's being built on, and I wouldn't want to change that by a million miles, there are going to be 3 bus stations built. One is going to be built at Edgewater, right beside Edgewater College on Edgewater Road, right beside it. Now, I've thought long and hard about a name for that bus station, and I reckon Edgewater is a good name for it.
No, it's madness. It's madness to be so simple like that, Maurice.
No. And then there's going to be one at Burswood, and I thought, where Bunnings and that, I thought Burswood's a good name for that. So when I say to you, well, look, I'll meet you down at the bus station at the Burswood, you'll know. But just on 1% of people at the last census in this ward, the Howick ward, speak Te Reo. They said it. That's their admission. They speak Te Reo, 1%. Well, we're going to give every one of these bus stations a Māori name that I can't pronounce or don't even know what it means. But we're not going to use Edgewater, Burswood and Gossamer, which everybody, if I said, I'll meet you at the Gossamer station. Now, again, that is patronising. That is not for any purpose. Why do you name a bus station? You name it so that people know which one you're referring to, so they say, I'll meet you there. And so you give it the name that everybody knows. Now, I have the Māori attack brigade come at me, you're a racist. And I said, well, twice I've been to the Electoral Commission and fought like stink to keep the name of my own electorate here called Pakuranga, because they tried to change it to English words. One was going to be Hillsborough. And I said, look, over my dead body, everyone knows where Pakuranga is. I'm proud of the name. Nothing to do with it being a Māori place name or not. It's a place that everyone knows, and I don't want it changed.
It's
but
obvious.
So is Burswood, and so is Edgewater, and so is Gossamer, but the other names mean nothing to anybody. But then we have to have a Carakia nearly every second or third month on each phase of this 5-year busway. And there are early morning starts, and you're in the dark, and you're singing these chants and to whoever the god of keeping the busway safe is. And, of course, a big chunk of koha goes out. And I keep saying, well, look, if you want to do the cultural thing, you can. We'll make space for you to come and do it. But you'll have to do it on your own. Oh, no. No, there's money involved here. Now, we are going to
How many Carakia have you had on the Eastern Busway? There's
I
more
would say
Carakia than buses.
I know of 4 so far, and we're only 1/4 of the way into building it.
Oh, there's another 4 to go. And so with Ikea, if you look at that resource consent, I mean, Ikea, there's going to be a pathway around that building too, but that'll have a big long Māori name. It can't be called Ikea Way.
No.
It won't.
No, you couldn't
it won't
do that.
get called that. No.
You couldn't.
It does seem.
This is what's so, because when I keep saying some of these things, the first attack, because it's always their first go-to, you're a racist. And I got stuck into someone the other day. I said, okay. I set up 23 Māori radio stations while I was Minister of Broadcasting. I set up Te Reo Whakapuaki Irirangi that you'll know as Te Manga Pāho. I did all of that. I did a whole lot of work to get the new beginnings of television, Māori television set up. What have you done for Māori? And the guy looked at me and said, come on, what have you done? I've just given you a list of things that I've done to protect Te Reo. And what have you done? Because he hadn't done anything, but he's telling me I'm the racist. Yeah. And that is because we have got to somehow put announcements and signage and all sorts of things for which the vast bulk of people in that specific area don't. Now, if you're in Ruatoria and you're putting signs up around a park where a big chunk of the local population are Māori and are pretty pretty competent in their Māori language and te reo, then let them have some Māori signs and so on. I'm not against it. But we do it it's almost virtue signalling to be sort of pleasant and nice to people.
I wonder if it's just, the whole thing's just got completely out of whack and out of hand, and so in their attempt to be inclusive and to go to Māori, they've just at each time we've done this, we've loosened it a little bit more, and now we go into the beginning of the earthworks and the end of the earthworks, the beginning of the planting and the end of the planting. It's like it's just look, people are laughing, they're mocking at Maurice. No one's taking that seriously.
They most certainly are. I got a note in from
the piss has been taken out of us.
I got a note in here from a person at Watercare. Said that while Watercare were trying, just let me give you this, it's quite amazing. He said while we were trying to fill a quarry pit on Puketuru Island with some sludge, the local mana whenua demanded that 2 full-time Māori monitors would be able to sit on Puketuru Island and watch the sludge being tipped into the pit on Puketuru. Now, that's taking the piss. There's nothing short of that's taking the piss. And as I said before, if it is a genuine impact on you, and of course everyone's got that right as well. If they're going to drive something through your property, you can go through the consent hearings, you can complain about it, and Māori are not excluded from that. So when they say, well, we should be included in it, you already are by just being a citizen or an entity or a group in New Zealand. The resource management says if it's going to impact on you, you've got a right to do something. And I agree with that. But this is
going fishing. Extra. This goes fishing for trouble. This goes fishing for issues. This goes fishing for trouble. This goes fishing for dirt.
Correct. And these people will literally find it. And I said, well, when we're going back to this Albany Puhoi motorway, I said to the chief executive of Transit, well, what do they do? And he said, they've got a couple of cane wicker chairs. They put them on the side of the lake and they sit there with their thermos flask and they chat and they sometimes play drafts and so on. I said, but they're supposed to be warding off evil spirits. What happens if an evil spirit showed up? How would they know? And what would they do with it? And he says, just stop it, Minister, just stop it. We're trying to get this bloody road built.
So the public service has gone with it. They've given up. And so have a number of ministers who aren't critically thinking about this and who aren't critically pushing back on it because they don't want to be deemed racist. It's not racist to ask questions about this.
No, it's not racist to want everybody to have the same rights. It is not. Racism is where you want people to have different rights based on their ethnicity. I'll die in the ditch allowing Māori to have the exact same rights of access and the same rights of complaint and the same rights of taking something to a tribunal if they're being dealt badly as anybody else. But when you say, but this is in addition to, special, different, and then we have some unbelievable bloody Carakia, which, I mean, can I please, will you do me the honour of letting me read you the English of just one of them? Because
the Auckland Council one. I want the Auckland Council one.
Okay, so this is the closing off of how we finish Auckland Council, and I'll just read you the English. This is the Maori translation into English. Listen to this. Draw on the supreme sacredness, to clear, to free our heart, body, and soul. Our pathway prepared, lo, there is peace. Suspend high above manifest. Draw together, affirm. We spout that stuff off every time there's a meeting, and I go, I'm not doing this. I am not taking part. I refuse to do it. They said, oh, well, we've agreed as council that we will do these Carakias at the opening and closing. And
Come on, you can't take yourself seriously, but it doesn't make sense in either language.
None of that wording makes sense to start with. Draw upon, manifest, and so what the hell does? But in the end, if you are talking about how we lift Māori education standards, how we keep them out of jail, how we get better health standards, count me in. We should be trying to look at focused, functional things that deliver outcomes, because we've got to sit down and what does success look like. But virtual signalling like that...
Oh, no, it's a mess. It's a mess. Do you reckon that when the treaty was signed... When the treaty was signed 200 years ago, do you think this was the intention?
Does nothing to better any Māori people.
No, it doesn't. Do you think this was... Well, if you guys will make some money out of it, do you think that this is what they meant 200 years ago when they signed this treaty, that this is how it would play out?
No, of course not. What I think they were hoping for... And Article 3 is quite clear, Māori will be afforded the same rights as all other British subjects. And I agree with that. And if there's any example where Māori are shut out because of their ethnicity, that needs to be fixed. But it doesn't say in Article 3, but on top of it, Māori will have extra, special, different, and favourable beyond belief. It is the same. And so if you're a local Chinese family here and your house is going to be impacted by the building of a motorway, you should have rights. And so should you if you're an Indian, and so should you if you're Pakistani or whatever. But you shouldn't have them based on your ethnicity. You should have them based on what's being done to the damage of your value and your property.
Yeah, it's been used as an economic standover tactic now. An economic standover tactic where a particular group can fill their pockets with a bit of dough from standing around and saying, no, plant those trees there. We've been hoodwinked.
Yeah, and what I found really, really annoying about the Carakia, because I was supposed to go, I only went to the first one, I won't go to any more, is for the first half hour, the Kamatua got up and spoke to us for nearly half an hour in Māori. Now, I don't speak Māori, I know quite a lot of Māori words, and I'm reasonably au fait with sort of the opening and closing stuff. But for half an hour, I had no idea what he was saying, and nor did anybody else in the room. Because I asked people afterwards, do you speak Māori? Do you know what he said? No. Now, he could have been saying, you're just a bunch of bloody useless bastards. And
he may have said that, actually.
He may have. Well, in my case, he was probably right. But
you're on full pay. You didn't know what you're doing.
but you don't know what he's saying. And so you wouldn't allow... Now, at least in Parliament, you can grab some headphones, shove them on, and you can hear what the other person's saying because there's a translation service. But if I sit for half an hour with somebody getting up and flying his arms and legs, and he's got the stick and he's going, and I have no idea what he's saying, then there's no point me being there. It helps me nothing, and it helps them nothing, and it just is virtue signalling. Now, I agree that if they distributed something that said he's going to get up and welcome you all, acknowledge people gone past and people in the future and people of the present, and wish you all well for the project, 2 to 3 minutes, I'd go for it. Half an hour, I don't want to go there again.
What he was telling you, Maurice, was that he's docking your pay by 50%. He won't pay you again until next January, and there's 3 new Māori seats being developed in Auckland, and one of them is going to be yours.
And who knows? Yeah. I mean, who knows what? And I just find that now. Then people say to me, "Oh, well, you've got the 2 formal languages," and I said, "I agree with that, but here's your problem: with one of those languages, nearly everybody in the country speaks it. If you look at the Chinese community, and I've got a big one out here, when I meet with them, they nearly all either speak English or broken English, but they certainly understand what you're talking about. And so does the Indian community, and so does Pakistani and whatever. But you go to a big meeting, we've had local meetings here, where there is simply nobody in the entire auditorium that understands the Māori language, and someone will get up and speak to them for 20 minutes in Māori. And by the way, they don't know what they're saying. And you say, well, this is nonsense. And then, of course, we're told, well, they're both official languages. And you take somewhere like Singapore, where they've got Malay and they've got Chinese and they've got Tagalog, or four different ones. But everybody speaks 3 or 4 languages or knows them. We very much have big populations here who don't speak te reo.
Well, a lot of Māori don't speak it.
Well, most of them don't. Now, if Māori did not speak English, if we had a population of Māori, a big chunk of our who spoke te reo but didn't know what English was, then I think you have to do both. Because you say you're cutting those people out, they're not getting any of the messages. But everybody I know who comes to these sort of koha-dominated handouts and more, Doug Graham taught us that koha meant gift and quota meant even bigger gift. But
Jesus,
but when the meeting's all over, they walk up and start chatting to us in English like perfect. They were fluent, absolutely fluent. So it wasn't like they were being cut out of their language. They were telling us, you will sit there for 30 minutes and listen to something that you do not understand, nor does anybody else in the room, but we're not going to speak in a language we can speak.
We've misinterpreted the whole thing, and it's got out of whack. And
it has to be wound back because the costs. I talk to so many big builders and so on who say we are just literally drowning in cultural. The people from the council will come in and overturn what we've done because it's not culturally sensitive on the particular bricklaying mode or what you've done with your roofing and so on. And I said, oh, you're kidding me. They said, oh, it's just dragging the project on. The uncertainty it's causing is adding huge costs to everything. Ikea's costs, I saw the number this morning.
Through the roof. I know.
It's beyond belief. They must be sitting back in Sweden saying, what the hell have we got here?
Well, remember, Maurice, they tried, so this is the 6th year of trying to set themselves up. And remember, they did 4 years in the Environment Court in 2008.
I know.
I mean, they're desperate to come to New Zealand, and we're going like this to them. Piss off. We don't want you here. We're making it as impossible as ever.
That's how they must feel. Now, instead of saying, there are standards, building codes that you've got to meet, and environmental standards that you're building, you're not dumping sludge into the rivers. Fine, I'm cool with that. But that's something that should be able to be coped with within no more than 3 to 6 months of a big project like a building. Easy. And it should be only about the river and the purity of the air and the cleanliness and so on, and not to do with where the spirits will be awakened and will come down from wherever they come and be upset about what we've done to the... And I say, sorry, I don't even believe that with regards to the western side. I'm an athist, so I don't believe in any of that stuff.
So am I.
From the other side as well.
Maybe they found Len Brown's secret South Auckland Ngāti Whātua room or something under the... I don't know. I'm going to leave it there, Maurice. Hey, thanks, mate. I always appreciate your time and good spotting on that stuff too, because it's bloody outrageous. And the more we do this, the less we march forward, you know. So good on you, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers, Maurice.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Okay, there's Maurice Williamson. Appreciate his time. Yeah, let's get into these. This letter. It's quite a long one. Isaac, do you want to rip through it, mate?
Yeah, I can do that. This one coming through from, I don't know actually, it doesn't have a name attached to it. Do you know who it's from, Duncan?
Yeah, was it Julie or something? Yeah, Judy, I think. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, it says here, hello, Duncan. Not sure if you've heard of this before or not, but in 2023, my husband got his electoral papers, and so did I. And for the first time, he spotted that he was now identifying as being of Māori descent. We talked with friends and heard of 2 others in the wider area that it had happened to as well. My husband said he would leave it there, even if he didn't know when and where and by whom it had changed. Though it was strange, the feeling was that he might get more benefits handed out by sticking to his new status. Wrong way to think, we know. Our concern, though, is how many other random New Zealanders did this happen to as well, where they have been identified as being of Māori descent, unspotted or unbeknown to them. It was around the time of the electoral scandals involving confidential data sharing and in particular marae being used as a place of voting in the 2023 elections. Maybe coincidence. However, we did wonder, was this a way of getting the Māori population up from 17% to 20% perhaps? Parties hungry to convert as many voters as they can in desperation? Or should the Electoral Commission be investigating themselves? We don't know how accurate and safe the information is held. We know of one that is completely incorrect now anyway. Could be completely wrong in our thinking, but it makes you wonder how and when and why Kiwis became of Māori descent without knowing. And how many haven't even bothered to check the details on the forms properly or at all. We have seen people desperate to drum up hundreds and thousands of votes against bills before select committees, using whatever people, power and technology they could get their hands on to suit their agendas and shutting things and people down. Sad how so much trust and it seems integrity has gone out of our systems. Who would even look into this kind of thing? Cheers.
Yeah. After you've read that letter, I wonder if it's a political party that's written that to me. They just know so much about the select committee process. They're very, very detailed.
I don't know. Well, in fairness,
does that come from a
you say that? You say that, but I don't know. Some of the grammar was a bit iffy, and I had to do my own wee editing there as I read it. So hopefully it wasn't a political party. Otherwise, we'd have some more serious issues, I think.
Yeah. Well, there's a bit of a rahui on at the moment. I'm talking about this whole Manarewa seat because of the death of the Māori Party MP Tash Kemp. Something dodgy been on out there. And it may well be that you and I have become Māori during this process of this podcast. I'll try and find out. I think there's been a bit of swapping in. I think people have said that they're Māori to make all sorts of things in New Zealand, make the Māori All Blacks. Suddenly there goes Māori. You know, something went on. Something's happened there. There's no doubt about that. And your husband may well be tied up in it. He may well now be Māori. Let me know how you go in life. Tell me if it's a privileged life or not. I'm not sure. I'm not sure it overly is.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Right, that is us, folks. Thanks for your feedback and support. Get in touch for our social media at Duncan Garner Podcast, TikTok, Instagram. Flick us an email, duncan@rovar.nz. Isaac, thank you, brother. Awesome. We'll do it again tomorrow. Remember, life's no dress rehearsal. No curtain raiser, no nothing. Well, there's plenty of something, but no nothing. This is it. We live in one of the best places on earth. So get out and enjoy the rest of the day and the evening. Take care, folks. Ta-ra.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.